Morning in rural Texas was typically serene, filled with birdsong and the scent of damp earth after the morning dew. But that morning, an unusual feeling hung in the air. Against the clear blue sky, a flock of crows spiraled, a sign that something was amiss in the forest. In a wooden cabin on the edge of the preserve, Jackson Cole, a seasoned hunter and former soldier who served in the Middle East, was meticulously checking his hunting gear. No longer haunted by the shadows of war, he was a father, a steward of the land, and above all, a man who believed in doing what was right. On the table lay a map covered in notes, locations where feral hogs had been ravaging crops. But what caught his attention was a series of strange signs: missing deer herds, toppled trees, and eerie howls echoing at night, things he hadn't encountered in his 10 years living there. The door swung open, and Deputy Miles, a longtime friend and the local sheriff, stepped inside. His face was etched with worry, but his eyes held steady trust. "Jackson," he said, "we need you. The hogs aren't just causing havoc, they're scaring folks. But I think this isn't just about hunting. We need to figure out what's going on in that forest." Jackson nodded. "I'm in. But I want Ruby with me. She needs to learn to face the world, not with fear, but with courage." Ruby Cole, 19, stood by the creek, cleaning her hunting rifle under the crystal-clear water. Raised among nature and her father's stories, she was ready for a real journey. When her father approached, she gave a small smile. "I knew you wouldn't go without me." Jackson's rare smile flickered. "This time, we're not just hunting, we're protecting." The father and daughter set off in their old pickup truck, rolling through fields glowing golden in the afternoon sun. Inside the cab, the usual pre-hunt tension was replaced by a sense of connection, a readiness to face whatever lay ahead. At the forest's edge, they stopped. Before them were clear tracks in the mud, large, deep, and fresh. Ruby knelt, touching the imprint. "What do you feel?" Jackson asked. "Not aggression, panic. Like something scared them into a frenzy," Ruby replied. Jackson gave a slight nod. "We're not just hunting, Ruby. We're listening. The forest never lies." From a distance, the wind rustled through the trees, carrying a faint sound, a warning, or perhaps an invitation. The two stepped into the forest, their hearts resolute. The pickup truck halted at the forest's edge, where sunlight gave way to the deep green of dense treetops. Jackson cut the engine, letting it cool, and listened. Ruby stayed silent. She knew that in the forest, silence was the language of survival. Father and daughter slung on their backpacks, rifles over their shoulders, night vision goggles and radios at the ready. But the most vital thing they carried was their trust in each other. The forest greeted them with the musty scent of fallen leaves, the rustle of scampering squirrels, and the distant call of an owl. Yet beneath that calm, something felt off. A faint, heavy breathing, like the forest itself was trembling. "Hold," Jackson signaled. Ruby instantly crouched, pressing against a tree. Before them lay a ravaged clearing, evidence of a fierce struggle. Grass torn up, tree bark shredded. In the center was an unbelievable mark, a long, deep gouge, as if something massive had dragged through. "What do you think, Dad?" Ruby whispered. "Not typical hogs. Something's driving the herd deeper into the forest," Jackson replied, his eyes sharp as a blade. They pressed on, moving slowly, deliberately. Each step was calculated to avoid snapping a twig. As dusk fell, they paused by a large boulder, scanning the valley below with binoculars. In their view, a group of about 10 feral hogs huddled together, strangely, not foraging or wreaking havoc. They stood still, heads turned in one direction, as if dreading something out of sight. "Ruby," Jackson said, "here's your most important lesson. Hunting isn't about killing. It's about understanding." Ruby froze. She'd never seen wild animals with such wary, terrified eyes. A large, scarred boar was backing away, growling, not at them, but at something else approaching. Then, silence gripped the air. The wind stopped. The birds fell quiet. Ruby held her breath. A low, drawn hiss, unlike any creature she'd ever known, echoed from deep within the forest. "Back away, slowly," Jackson murmured. "Something's hunting, both us and the hogs." As they retreated to a makeshift camp by the creek, Ruby sat by the fire, haunted by the lead boar's eyes, not aggressive, but pleading. "Dad," she asked, "what if that creature isn't the threat?" Jackson looked up, his gaze thoughtful. "Then, maybe we're not here to eliminate something. Maybe we're here to save something that's spiraling out of control." The Texas forest night was colder than usual. The hum of insects had faded, replaced by indistinct sounds, both scraping dry earth, labored breathing echoing from somewhere, as if the forest hid a restless herd. Jackson sat by a small fire, eyes glued to the motion detector screen. Blips flickered. Something was moving. Fast. Ruby cleaned her scope, her gaze focused, steely, no longer the dreamy 19-year-old, but a true marksman preparing for the unknown. They're circling. 3 approach points, like a flanking tactic. Jackson gave a slight nod. Hogs aren't that smart, unless the leader's old and dangerous. Around midnight, a roar erupted, closer and fiercer than ever. Not one, but many. Ruby and Jackson rushed out, quickly taking a high position on a rise. Below, moonlight revealed a pack of over 10 feral hogs, massive, bristled, scarred, with tusks like daggers. They didn't move like panicked beasts. They hunted in formation. "They're heading for the farm," Jackson said, his rifle ready. "If they aren't stopped, people will die by morning." "I'll take the leader," Ruby replied, eyes locked on her scope. Jackson said nothing, just shifted to cover the flanks, trusting her to do the rest. Ruby inhaled deeply, aimed. Distance, 180 meters. Light northeast wind. Target, the lead boar, about 1.2 meters tall, thick hide, moving fast. The shot rang out, clean, decisive. The leader collapsed instantly. One bullet, through the left eye, into the brain. The pack scattered in chaos for seconds, then split and fled, but Ruby didn't miss her chance. 2 more shots, both on target. 2 more hogs dropped within 15 seconds. Jackson glanced at his daughter, pride in his eyes but unspoken. He just nodded, the nod of a hunter acknowledging his successor. "We don't kill to boast," he said. "We kill to protect." "You did well." Ruby exhaled, relieved. But something heavy settled in her chest. Looking at the lead boar's body, she realized they hadn't attacked out of instinct. They were driven. At dawn, father and daughter reached the farm the hogs had targeted. The sight stopped them cold. Livestock pens smashed, blood splattered, massive tracks stamped into the earth. Not just hogs, but something bigger, stronger. Jackson's brow furrowed. They were just messengers. Ruby tightened her grip on her rifle. Then whatever's coming next is the real disaster. Dawn's light pierced the dense forest canopy, glinting off dew-soaked leaves. But Jackson's face showed no ease. He tracked every print, every long drag mark in the dirt, signs that didn't belong to feral hogs. Ruby followed, cautious but curious. She felt the forest changing. No birdsong, no scampering squirrels. All life seemed to avoid a certain area. "They're not scared of us," she whispered. "They're scared of this." They traced the trail to an unmapped region, a sunken hollow deep in the woods, where sunlight barely touched the ground. Trees here were clawed to shreds, the earth churned into mud, pitted with deep holes, roots torn up from below. Jackson knelt, picking up a scorched bone fragment. Teeth marks, bigger than a wolf's. And this wasn't to eat. It was to destroy. Ruby scanned the area, murmuring, what could drive a whole pack of hogs wild, make them aggressive, then hunt them down? Jackson didn't answer. He raised his rifle, staring at a pitch-black cave, its entrance veiled by foliage. A gust from within carried a rank stench, rotting flesh, blood, and primal savagery. Then, a heavy sound erupted behind them, like the forest groaning. Trees shuddered, the ground quaked faintly. Jackson signaled to take cover. Ruby slid behind a rotten trunk. A creature emerged, its form unclear, shrouded in shadow. But its size was unmistakable. Over 2 meters tall, dark-furred, moving on 4 legs like a hog, but with the speed and roar of an ancient predator. Ruby held her breath. The beast was dragging the carcass of a hog, the lead boar she'd killed last night. "Good God," she breathed. "It's hunting them." Jackson muttered, voice taut as a bowstring, "This isn't a forest beast. This is something born of imbalance." After the creature vanished deeper into the woods, Jackson and Ruby approached the cave. Inside, they found strange objects, metal canisters, fragments of netting, traces of chemicals. Clear signs of human interference. "This isn't just nature anymore," Jackson said. "Someone brought something into this forest, maybe a genetically altered animal or something that escaped a lab. The Hogs were just the first victims." Ruby clenched her fists. "Then our job isn't just hunting. It's stopping this from spreading beyond the forest." Jackson nodded. "Exactly. And if we don't act now, there'll be no forest left to return to." Dusk fell over the ancient forest like a vast black blanket. The wind had shifted, not the gentle breeze carrying the scent of leaves, but a thick gust heavy